Hi, I'm Kelly at Book and Paper Arts, and today I want to talk about Momigami, about how to turn magazine papers and old coffee table books and glossy images into this soft paper fabric. And this is using a traditional Japanese paper folding and kneading technique called Momigami. It would have been it would have been a technique that was used for turning paper into a kind of fabric, which could then be sewn and turned into clothing or bags or used the way you would use a cloth. Today's method is not quite so traditional. I've adapted it a bit for working with glossy papers. But you will not be disappointed with the results. If you like journal arts, if you like altered books, vintage books, paper, and other ephemera, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and be sure and turn on the notifications. And you will have more of them in your life. Now let's go fold some paper. The materials for making these papers are glossy pages from magazines or coffee table books, and something to work into those pages to get them nice and soft. Traditionally, Momigami is done with mulberry paper. And this is mulberry paper. You can see that it's very fibrous and organic. And what you would do in the traditional Japanese method is take a plant-based starch and paint over the paper. And when it's drying, as it gets a little bit tacky, you would start folding and unfolding and kneading. And that would be what breaks down the fibers in this paper. I have also seen methods that use hand lotion. And hair conditioner seems to be popular because it has glycerin, which does nice things to your paper. But I found that none of these really worked well with the magazine pages. The starch is supposed to soak into the paper. The whole point of these is that this glossy paper is stiff and hard to work with. So the starch was just repelled. It did not go into the papers. If it did anything, it made them more stiff. So for this method, not the starch. I did try the hand cream and the hair conditioner, and again, neither of them gave me really good results. By all means, try them. That's what making is all about. But I've made so many of these pages, and the thing that gives me the result I really like, and that I'm going to use in my own work, is oil. This is olive oil. Let's see, can I open that? Yes, I can. Olive oil. I suspect you could use just about any kind of kitchen oil, rapeseed, avocado, or even vegetable oil. I'm pretty sure it's going to do the job. Give it a try. Use what you got. Before we start folding and kneading, I want to talk about what papers are going to give you the best results. You want to, at least to start, I strongly suggest that you pick pages that are bright and light. The oil is going to naturally darken the pages, the color as it is, as ink oil will do. And also, as these start breaking down, they're going to, as the pages start getting softer and breaking down, the ink that is in them, even though it's glossy, coated with this gloss, it's going to start breaking down and bleeding together. So I'm showing this because I thought that looked like it would be a really fun, pretty colorful page. And it didn't. I'm not unhappy with this result. It could be very effective for something, but it certainly didn't give me that bright, happy look that I was expecting. Instead, I got some of my best results in these experiments using pages from this free magazine. It's from Mark's. It's full of ads and recipes. And it looks like this picture of some humble potatoes would be pretty nothing. And on the other side, we've just got some spaghetti. Not really something to get excited about putting in your journal pages or your work. But look how this actually turned out when it was finished. Those are your potatoes. That's where your text is, the recipes. And now, I just think this is so beautiful and lush and would make terrific background or start to a project. I love how that, even look at the spaghetti. Except now it's not, it's whatever you say it is. You've got that big blob of color in the middle. And these are the cherries. And again, you don't exactly recognize them for what they looked like originally. We almost do. But it looks so painterly. And again, the color is beautiful and rich. There they are. There's the cherries. And again, now you can take this apart, use the pieces in your collage. You can slow stitch into it, and you're off and running. My point is, think about choosing bright, lighter colors in your work. These are some pages from a coffee table book of roses, and the yellow, rather than looking, originally they looked a little boring, and now they really pop. So look for bright colors, light colors. The technique is very simple. You want to fold the paper and unfold it, fold it, knead it, work the oil into it, unfold it, do it again and again and again. If you are using these stiff pages, especially if you're using coffee table pages, they're going to be stiff, and it is very normal in this technique. You're going to almost certainly end up with some holes. That's fine. That is normal in this technique. But if you start with a glossy paper and your first go is just crumpling, you're going to start with holes that are just going to get bigger. So I suggest that if you're using these glossy papers, your first couple of folds are easy ones. So you start making the paper more workable before you do that first crumple. Kind of warming the paper up. You're still going to have holes, but you won't start off with holes. All right, that's a little bit more agreeable. So I'm going to start a gentle crumple. Very gentle. Don't challenge the paper. Try to understand what it's going through. All right, I think we can start crumpling in earnest now. I'm going to take this oil, or whatever it is you're going to use, and I'm not coating the paper. I'm just putting some on the tips of my fingers. And when I saw other people do this, I thought, that's not enough. But you know what? It is. Let's just kind of work that around there a little bit and start folding. Again, try to feel the paper, be gentle but firm. Unfold. Get some more oil on my fingertips. Kind of share it out a little bit there. Make sure there's a little bit in the middle. And now I'm going to start to crumple it again. I don't unfold it every single time. You can actually knead it around your hands like this without completely opening it and changing where you're crushing it. So now I haven't really opened it. Now I'm going to crush it and fold it in a... There's another way. There's another way. So just roll it around in your hand and squish it while it's a ball. Open it up carefully and slowly. The more times you do this, this is where you're going to start getting your holes. Don't worry if you do get some holes. Like I said, it is normal. I've watched tutorials by traditional Japanese paper makers, and they all end up with holes. Scrunch, turn, scrunch, turn, scrunch. Now I am going to turn on the double time because actually I will be folding this for at least 5 to 7 minutes, at least. And you do not want to sit here and watch me do that. So let's go speed it up. This is the final result. From first gentle creasing to here is 7 minutes-ish of folding and kneading and scrunching and unfolding and repeating. You can see it's nice and it's cloth-like. The colors have deepened, but they're mysterious and pretty, and you could use this in so many ways. If you're using pages from a coffee table book, they're going to be heavier and thicker, and the gloss will be thicker, and you may have to go longer than 7 or 8 minutes. Just start experimenting with this, listening to your paper, opening it up, checking your results, and when you've got what you're looking for, you'll know. Let me show you some of the pages that I've made and where they came from, and to give you an idea of what you could be looking for and expect. This is, let's see, these are all pages from that free magazine with the cooking photos, the recipes. And let's see, there's another. So those all did really well, and they were free. Let's see, this page was from a glossy page of a magazine. It was an art magazine, and the original page, I took a picture of it before I started, looked like this, and it was just a glossy magazine page. And now it has gone very dark, but instead of looking like an unhappy cardinal, you've just got this pool of beautiful, deep, mysterious red and some shapes. It's abstract. It can suggest all kinds of things. And I think this might have been, yeah, this was the inside of a church. And now you've just got your light values over here. You've got some, again, very abstract. And it can suggest a lot of different things. This page is from National Geographic, so you know you can find some of those. And it was a picture of some flamingos. Now, I thought because these were light and it had the pink colors and, overall bright, it would give me a brighter result. It didn't really. I do like this result, mainly because I love this color slate blue. I love how instead of a bright pink, I now have dusty rose colors throughout. So you can see that you cannot use your original image as a gauge to ending up with something that looks like what you started with. But whatever you end up with, it's going to be super interesting. This is from an old page of text. You can see it's not glossy. It's just it was in a sort of a dictionary kind of thing. And I'm not unhappy with it, but it did not give me the same results as it's not a glossy paper. So I couldn't help trying it, and I do like it. But if you're going to use a matte paper, here's another one that I used. This was from a coffee table book, but it wasn't glossy. The paper was matte. And what I ended up with looks now like a felt. Again, there are things I could do with this, especially if I'm going to be making it into collage fodder. Nothing wrong with that. But just be aware that if you're using matte papers instead of magazine papers, you're going to get a different result. This is from a coffee table book. Well, not a tiny little book of trees. And I'm going to use this in some journal work for tags and whatnot. And again, it does look good. Doesn't really look entirely tree-like, but now I could sew this and add it to another piece like this. Or use it as a kind of a tag. We'll see. But I like how that turned out too. This is from a page in Vanity Fair. And it was I think an ad for a car or a watch or something pretty banal. But it had this dark blue background. I guess a medium blue. And then as the paper developed, it's become this rich royal blue and is not banal anymore. And again, I could use this as a page. I could sew into it, or it can become scraps for another project. Let's see. What was this? This was a fashion magazine. And again, I'm not unhappy with it, but it was a little bit gray and dark colors, monochromatic colors, and it does not really pop. But if you're looking for some gray, there you go. And these are pages. You know what? I actually went ahead and I tried this with some parchment paper. This is just parchment paper that you cook with. It looks pretty cool. I thought about adding a coffee stain or tea stain to this, but because these papers are infused with the oil that you have kneaded into them, you're not going to, any liquid or wash or paint or ink is going to be repelled largely. So now I have this sort of a cream color, ivory color, but I don't think it's going to take a wash. I have some caramel colored parchment paper. I might try that. This was just a bag that my bread came in. And it wasn't glossy, it wasn't matte, it was just, it's like a craft paper. And so clearly it still says that, but it looks all like, instead of being a stiff piece of paper, it looks like a fun piece of cloth. And I think it's fun. My point is, start looking at your papers in a different way. Your found papers that are all around you. And these two are from This is from a coffee table book of roses that I got for £1. It was so cheap. And so the images were kind of like this, nothing to get hot and bothered about. But then once they were folded and worked, it's now as if I have this rose-covered fabric. What are some ways that you can use these papers? You can use them as a background for a more traditional collage, something like that. I will definitely be doing that. As I said earlier, a very popular way to use these is to tear the pieces into fodder, scraps, and then you could combine them and start making an abstract collage full of texture and just distressed, fun pieces. And no one's going to quite know where they came from. Yeah, I think that's going to make a gorgeous abstract collage. You could then turn that into a card, put it into your art journal or junk journal. Don't forget to turn them around, see if they look better this way. If you were to glue these together or sew them, it's going to make the paper a bit more robust, and this would make a banging cover for an art journal or a blank book. If you sew, I know a lot of you do sewing, you can add some slow stitching. Just got some embroidery floss here, and I'm just doing a running stitch. But if you do proper embroidery, or you maybe do a Boro style, you can create patterns and mark making with your papers and thread. And also, if you use fabric, you might want to, you could add some lace for a border, or a piece of fabric or ribbon, or what you like. But that again would make a nice cloth page that you could use in a lot of different ways. I'll bet some of you already have ideas based on your style, what you like to work in, of how you would use these pages. And if you do, please write them down in the comments below, and then we can all read and compare notes and get more and more ideas. Also, if you have any questions, put them down there. Any feedback in the comments. Let's compare notes. Hey, look! I found the baguette bag, the original one that I didn't have as a visual a moment ago. You can see it's just where I bought some bread in my plain old grocery store. And then after I worked it with the oil and the folding, now it looks like a piece of linen. And you could do so much with this. My point being, be sure and look around you for found papers that can come from anywhere, otherwise known as free art supplies. I did go ahead and glue some of these fragments. I just rough tore some of these fragments, made them into fodder, and glued them at will. Not only does this look really good, but it reinforces this paper, especially if you want to use it for, say, a cover of a messy art journal like that. It's going to make it more robust. Another thing that you could do is add a coat or two of some Mod Podge, some PVA craft glue, or I use acrylic gel medium, and let that dry. Add a couple of coats, and that's going to make this, again, much more robust, but still flexible. You can also use it as I said, for a background for a more traditional collage. And it's up to you. I've left my edges frayed and messy. If you've seen my videos, you know that I'm often trying to get that torn wallpaper or peeling fresco look. And that's what I feel like is happening here. It looks like peeling wallpaper from an old, old, old mysterious house. So, but if you like your edges down, you can make them perfect and flat. It's just another look. If you're going to do that, you might want to flatten your pages a little bit, just with a hard edge or a flat edge or even an iron. You're not going to take all of the wrinkles out, believe me. You're just going to make it a little bit more workable. And there, again, you've got the beginning of a really charming. That's it. Except to say that if you saw part 1 of this video where I was showing how to sand newspaper magazine pages and give them a distressed and aged look, I talked about how you could, one technique was to overpaint. And here I used a bright chalk pastel for an abstract look, overpainting a sanded magazine page. Well, since then, I've experimented using watercolors and ink. And so if you'll join me in a few days, I'm going to make a very short video talking about what I found with that experiment. In the meantime, please subscribe to my channel. Please turn on the notifications so that you will know when I post. And again, leave some comments, some feedback, some questions, and let's all compare notes. Until later, get up and go make something.